In today's video, we're rebuilding this email from Lavva with the help of MJML. What's up everyone, my name is Tobias and welcome to MJML. I've always found that the best way to practice a practical skill is to just do it. That's why I decided to start this series where I rebuild popular emails using MJML. Not only for my own practice, but also to encourage you to just start practicing. Since it's also practice for me, please bear with me when I make a mistake here and there. So as I said in the intro as well, today we're building this email from Lavva here. I found this email on reallygoodemails.com, which is a great site for getting email design ideas and to see how these emails are structured and built. Go check it out yourself, I posted a link in the description. If you see any cool email on there you want me to rebuild, please let me know down in the comments. To start off a rebuild, I personally always like to rebuild the email in Adobe Xd. I rebuild these emails so I can get a better grasp of the layout. I looked at the fonts and their sizes, the colors in the design and the general spacing. Halfway through the rebuild I got a little bit annoyed by the online code viewer, so I just copied the code and created a local copy of it to make it easier for myself. When I'm rebuilding this email, I also get an idea of what elements I gotta use in MJML. So now we rebuild the email in Adobe Xd. Let's head over to Adobe Xd and take a look. Alright, we're here in Adobe Xd. On the left side you can see the original here, which is just a screenshot I took of the page. And on the right side you can see my rebuild. Let's move this a bit out of the way and zoom into our rebuild and see what's going on. So first off, I'm gonna check what sections we need. So we need a hero section, some sort of message section, 3 recipes with inside these sections 2 columns for all the recipes. Then we have a little wave image, and then we have all our flavors and in the end a footer. So for the MJ attributes we're probably gonna need the image one, a button, a divider, and I think that's almost everything. So why I like rebuilding again is because I get a better grasp of the layout, but also I can check what font sizes I need. So when we check this paragraph here, I need a 16 pixel font size with a 21 pixel line height. And when I'm building this email in Adobe Xd, I always keep a style guide here, so I can see what colors I need, what fonts I need, and what components I need. So when I'm building this and I need a button, for example, I just drag it in and I have a button. Also keeping a style guide here makes it a lot easier to see what font size we need and what line height we need, so we can input those styles in our MJML document. So now that we built the email in Adobe Xd, we know all the styles and classes we're gonna need. So I already created all my classes here. I created the dark green color class, the light green color class, and the cream color class. If we go over to Adobe Xd, we can see here the light green color, the cream color, and the dark green color. Then I created all my font styles, H1, H2, H3, P1 and P2. This is the H1, this is the H2, and then this is the H3, this is the P2, and then above here we have the P1. Then I also styled some attributes because we want our text to be font family Helvetica with a fallback font of Arial. The color of the text is going to be the dark green. And I set the padding to 0 because, as we know, MJML pre-applies some padding to elements. So for the button again, I did a dark green background with the white text. Font size for the text 12 pixels, line height 15 pixels. Bold text with a border radius of 45 pixels and some inner padding of 18 pixels. And again, I set padding around the button to 0. For all our images, I also set all the padding to 0. And for our divider, I set the border color to the dark green color. And I set our border width to 1 pixels and some padding around these, so we don't have to do that later. Because if we go back to our Adobe Xd file and we check our divider, and we check the paddings around it, we can see that it has, that it has 30 pixels on top, 30 pixels on the bottom, and 18 pixels to the side. Alright, and then for every section I set the padding to 0 as well and a background color of the light green, as many of our sections are light green as we can see. Now that we've inputted all our styles, I gave the body of the email a white background and we can start doing the hero section first. Let's create an MJ section with a column inside. We don't want any defined width and we're gonna say an image. This image is our hero image. There it is, that looks fine. And we're just gonna give it an alt of Lavva. Alright, that's all for our hero image section. Now let's go on to our message section, which is this section here. So we're just gonna have one column with text block, image, text block, and a button. Alright, so let's first off input our section, and I'm gonna put some padding inside of this section. I want on top 0, to the right I want 18 pixels, then 0 again, and then 18 pixels again. So inside we're gonna create a column. We're not gonna give it any width, and we're first gonna do our text. This text is gonna be our big heading, so we're gonna give this a MJ class of h1. We're gonna copy the text from here and paste it in here. Alright, now we gotta center this heading, so I center. And that looks absolutely gorgeous. Now let's get on to the next text, which is the paragraph. Let's get the text. And let's say MJ class is the P1. Now this text is also centered, so let's align it to center. And now we need some padding between these, so let's apply some padding to the top of 12 pixels. So next up is our image from the box. I think it's message.png. There it is. And alt is box full of lava. Alright, that's our image. Now we need some padding. 18 at the top, 20 at the bottom. So I'm just gonna do 20 on the top and the bottom because that's easier. Let's say padding. Top, we want 20 pixels. Or actually, we don't want to apply it to the image because then the image gets smaller. Let's actually apply it to our text here. So padding bottom on the text, 20 pixels. And then we're gonna apply some padding to the top from this text here of 20 pixels again later. All right, so let's get on to the text. We want this text in here. And this text is from the class h2. All right, but now we only want this and free shipping to be bold. So let's span the rest around a span. And now let's give these spans their style, because they need to be a regular font weight. Font weight, I believe it's 400. That looks good, so let's copy this one. And paste it in the other span as well. And now only free shipping and take home are bold. Now let's center this text. All right, now this text is a little bit big. And as you can see here, it's only this big. So what I'm gonna do is check the original email and see how it behaves on mobile, so we can apply all the mobile stylings as well. So if we got this email here, let's open up our DevTools. Let's put it down here. All right. So let's inspect this real quick and see what happens. So they actually inserted a line break, as we can see here. So we're gonna do that as well. That looks fine. Now we need some padding up on the top of it. So padding top, 20 pixels. After that, we need a button. Let's insert that button. And in the button, it says shop now in all caps. There's our button. And we want some spacing between these, which is 20 pixels. So let's also add to the text a padding bottom of 20 pixels. Now we go into a divider. And to create a divider, we say MJ section, MJ column, it's real simple, no width, and MJ divider. And then we have our little divider here. Now we come to the recipes. So we have our heading here and then a recipe. And then this recipe repeats, but it's mirrored. And then we have the same recipe again. So first off, let's do the heading here. Let's copy the text, create a section. Paste the text in there. And this heading is a h2, so class h2. If I'm correct, let's double check. Yeah, it is. And we want this text to align center. So That looks great. Now we go onto the recipe. For that, I'm gonna create a new section and another column inside. And actually, we're gonna have two columns inside this section. One column for the image and one column for the text here and the button. So before we do this, let's actually check the original document and see how it behaves on mobile. And let's refresh the page real quick. As we can see, if we go down, it makes the image full screen. My browser is a little bit bugged, but it's centered normally. But as we can see, it creates a full screen image with, I think it's like 9 or 18 pixels on the side as well. And then this one is around here as well. So now let's do what I think is best, and that's using HTML for image. So I'm gonna say MJ_raw. MJ_raw lets you input raw HTML inside MJML. I'm just gonna input an image here. And there's our image. We're gonna give it an alt of bowl full of granola and lava. And we're gonna say for the width, we're gonna say 100%. Now this still looks a bit weird, but we're gonna insert another column with no defined width. And now it already looks a little bit better. So inside this column, we're gonna have some text. Actually, we're gonna have two text blocks, one for the heading and one for the paragraph. So let's do the heading first. Like that, and let's just input the text again. But underneath that, we want a button. So let's do that as well. And the button says see recipe. Now we're gonna give these some classes. MJ class. This is, I think, heading 2 as well. Yep. And this text is MJ class paragraph 2. And then we're gonna say for the button, align left. Save this. Now we need some padding. I want between the paragraph and the button and the heading, I want 12 pixels. So let's give the paragraph some padding top and bottom. And now we need to make sure we have enough padding around all the other elements. So let's give this section some padding on the, not on the top. We do want 18 pixels on the right, no, nothing on the bottom, and we do want 18 pixels on the left. That looks great. Now let's fix the padding between the content here and our bigger heading, which is 35 pixels. Let's go over to this section and say padding bottom 35 pixels, and then that's fixed. Now we want some space between this, so I think I'm just gonna do like 20 pixels, and I'm gonna apply this to the text column. To the left it is. So now let's see what happens when we go to mobile. I think it almost looks good. Yeah, it almost looks good. So let's check the original again, how it behaves. So it loses the padding on the left here. And this text goes smaller. I think I'm actually just gonna leave it big because I like it this way. I'm just not gonna do that with a breakpoint. So let's see what we need to change. Nothing on the image. We want to lose this padding here on this column. And it looks like the button is gonna be centered. So let's fix that first. So to get rid of this padding here, we're actually just gonna convert this file into HTML first. All right, so let's get this converted file in our browser and let's inspect this element. And now we're mobile, that's correct. Let's inspect the column where we have our text inside. All right, so this div is the wrapper for all the text. And what we're gonna do now is on the part we want to remove our padding, add a CSS class. So as we can see here, we added padding to the left of this column of 20 pixels. So what we're going to do here is add a CSS class and call it a recipe padding. Save this and let's convert this once more. open up our browser again and refresh this page. And now let's check if we can find this class. So let's inspect this. So let's just search recipe padding. And we can find that it is on the column itself. That's great. And now we got to find where the padding is applied. So not on the table, as we can see here, not on the body, not on the row. It is applied on the table data element. If you scroll down here, we can say the padding, we can see the padding is 20 pixels. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a media query where we select the recipe padding class. And then we select the table, table body, table row, table data, and then we remove the padding from there. It sounds complicated, but it really isn't, and I'm going to show you how. So what we're going to do now is head up to our heading and insert MJ style tags. And inside here, we're going to create our media query for max width of 480 pixels. Inside there, we're going to target our class, recipe padding. And let's check it out here. We need it because here is our, let's see. No, this is the image. Here's our class, recipe padding. We can see it here. We need to target the table, table body, table row, and then is our padding to the left. So let's do that. Table, T body, T row, and yeah, table data. And then we can input our style. And our style is padding left 0 pixels. And because the padding to the left here is inline, we need to say here that this change is important. As you can see now, when we are on mobile inside the editor as well, it removes the padding to the left. So in the editor here, it fucks up a bit with the padding on the button, but we're going to check later. If we go onto our browser, it looks absolutely fine. So let's build this once more and check our browser real quick, just to verify. I switched browser because Chrome was acting up. And as we can see, it removes our padding successfully. All right, now we know that works. Let's actually go back to our mobile view because we need to add a little bit of padding beneath the image and the heading here. So now that we have targeted this this column with the recipe padding, we can also add padding to the top when we switch to mobile. So let's do that, padding top. Let's see, 20 pixels looks fine. Yeah, it looks great. And also say important, just to make sure this change will go through. Now we did that, we actually also changed all the paddings here because it targets all the elements inside. So what we want to do is search what this element is and give it to this element only, the padding. So I'm gonna try and give this heading a CSS class and see what comes out. Let's save and convert. Oh. Let's refresh. All right. And let's see where this class is applied now. And it's applied on the table data above the div where the text is inside. So now that we know that, we can target it that way. So what we're gonna do here is remove this padding and add a new class, the class of recipe heading. And the text is inside a div, so we're gonna say div. Now the brackets, and then we can input the padding to the top of 20 pixels. And this is important. Save this, and now we contain our 12 pixels here and only target this piece of text. All right, let's to double check, rebuild it real quick or convert it real quick. I made a couple mistakes with the conversion that I put this here. So, and as we can see, only here is 20 pixels padding top, and on this thing here is the 12 pixels. So I think the most of the work is done right now. I think the recipe part was the hardest. So let's see if we need to change anything else here. Yeah, we do. We need to add some padding on this text here. So let's do that. All right, now next up is a divider, then a recipe mirrored, another divider, and a recipe again. So let's do that. Let's just copy this section here. And before let's actually put in the divider first before we copy the section. And now we can copy the section and paste it underneath the divider. And what we're going to do now here is a little trick I learned, is that you can input on this section here a direction. Because now, if I have not inputted this direction yet, and I would, for example, switch this column here to be placed underneath, well, let's just see how it is. So I would do this, and if I would go down, the image is going to be below the text. And that's not what we want. So what we're going to do is leave it as is. And on the section, we're going to say direction. I think it's RTL. Yeah, so what happens now is that it switches it around. And if we go down to mobile, it's still image up top and text up at the bottom. Now we just got to fix the padding here. And for that, we just say, instead of padding left, we say padding right. And if we go down to mobile, let's see how it looks. Yeah, that looks fine. Now what's left is another divider. And we're going to change the images and the text up soon. I'm just going to input all the sections first. All right, this section is not RTL, which means right to left. This section is left to right. But we can actually just leave that out. And let's fix this padding again instead of the left. And now when we go down to mobile, it all looks good. So now let's change out the images because we have granola here, but we don't want granola here. We want, I think it's tzatziki. Tzatziki? Do I spell it? Yeah, I spelled it correct. Let's copy the text here. All right, that's tzatziki done. Now let's get to the next one, which is the lemon poppy seed blueberry nice cream. All right, and now one thing left, which is to change the alt texts. Let's save that and let's convert it real quick to see if it all works still. Refresh this and open DevTools. And that looks absolutely amazing. Next up is our waves images, which is another full width image, which is simple. We're just going to say section, column, and then remove this because we don't want that, and say image. All right, next up is the all flavor section. We have, I think, 1, 2, 3 sections with these last 2 sections have 3 columns inside each. Let's create that. Let's say MJ section. This is for the header first, so we're going to copy this real quick. Let's check the paddings. Top 8, at the bottom around 30. So let's input our column. Paste the text and give it a class of, let's scroll down so we see what we're doing. Class of, I think it's H3. Yeah, that's correct. Now let's style this section a bit as well. We're going to say MJ class cream, because this is going to have the same background as the waves image, which is cream. And we need the text to align center. And then we need to add some paddings to the section as well. All right, I made a typo, so let's actually place this here. And now it should work. So what's up next is these 2 sections here. And all around is like 18 pixels, except for the top. So let's do that. Let's create another section and style this with some padding. Padding, I'm just gonna do regular padding, 0 pixels, 18, 18, 18. And we gotta give this a class because now we don't have our background. So class is cream. All right, so in here is 3 columns with images and a button. So let's create a first column first and remove this. And we're gonna do an MJ raw again. So let's do image. Before we insert any images, let's actually check the mobile responsiveness of the original file. Normal screen, it's 1, 2, 3. And then we go down to mobile, it's 1 on each column. So let's insert our images first. And now underneath that in the same column, let's add a button. The button says shop. Now I think this button is a bit small. The original is also small, but I don't like these small buttons, so I'm just gonna give it a width of 100 pixels. I think that looks fine. Let's actually spell width correctly. Now this still looks a bit funny, but we're just gonna copy this column and paste it again and paste it again. And now we have our 3 desserts here. So now let's swap out these images. I think this looks fine this way. So let's move on to the next row or the next section. For these images, because they're not decorational, we actually want to add some alt text. So let's say alt strawberry flavor. So let's check what our mobile responsive is like. So if we go down, all right. It's a bit to the left, so we're gonna fix that. And how we're gonna fix that is that we're gonna insert a width of 100% on all the images. So let's check out first of all if this works. Yep, this is centered. That looks good. So let's do it to all the images. So I added it to all the images. Let's check how it works. And that looks good. So that's it. Now for the last section, which is the footer, we need another section with a column inside. And this section is gonna have the dark green background. So let's do that. Let's give the MJ class of dark green. And let's insert some, I think we need a logo actually. So yeah, let's do the logo first. MJ image. And the source is this. This needs to be a / and there's a logo. Now our logo does, let's actually give it an alt of logo. So our logo isn't that big, it's 75 pixels in width. Then we need some padding, so let's see what's the padding. 40 at the bottom, 30 at the top, so let's just give it a, give this column a padding of, actually not the column, yeah, column works. Padding top of 30 pixels. In the same column, we're gonna add some social icons. So I'm gonna do my little trick again, MJ text. And inside of here, I'm gonna place some HTML images. All right, and now let's align this to center. And that looks great. Now let's put on the text some padding to the top of 30 pixels, looks fine. And then we have our disclaimer here. So let's copy the first one, first row, and say MJ text, paste it in. And then we have another MJ text with the address. So let's copy the address, paste it in. And now we don't see our text because we need to style it first. All right, so now we need to align this to the center. Copy this style and paste it in here. And let's add some padding to the bottom of this. Yeah, okay. And now obviously I'm not using any templating text, but you could insert your unsubscribe text link thingy here. Same with here with your address, you can input your address syntax tags to insert your address if you're using an email service provider. I'm going to create a video soon on using syntax in your MJML creations, so you can use them on your email service provider. All right, to finalize, I want some padding on the bottom of this section. Actually, let's space these socials a bit away from the text. So, we also want padding bottom here of 30 pixels. All right, that looks good. Now let's go to mobile and see how it all looks. I think, wait, is this mobile? Let's go to the biggest breakpoint. All right, looks good, looks good. Remember, these buttons will be fixed when we convert it to HTML. It just looks a bit weird in the preview here. All right, all right. That looks fine. This looks good. And this looks also good. So let's go back real quick because I want some more spacing on the bottom of these flavors. So let's do that. So now our email looks good. We need to insert some links to links on the buttons, links on images, and etc, etc. So let's just simply put in some Google links on all the buttons and stuff. Where's our first button? Or actually, let's do it on the image as well. This is our paragraph text here. So image, I'm gonna say href Google or https google.com. Copy this and let's paste it in all the images and buttons. So again, I made a little mistake. We can't obviously add href to images directly, only if it's an MJ image. So we gotta put anchor text and say href and wrap all the images around anchor text. Alright, now that I fixed all my mistakes, let's also add a link to the header image. And now our links should be inserted. I'm pretty sure the last thing we have to do now is insert a preview. So I've got open the documentation here with the MJ preview. And let's just copy this and paste it in the head. The preview is the preview text you see in your email. Let's just copy this text and use that as our preview. And save it. Now that everything's done and everything looks great, let's export it for our last time and see if it functions in our browser. So we got it open in our browser here. Let's open Chrome DevTools and get into mobile view. That looks good, that looks good. All right. Maybe you want some more spacing between the wave and this button, so I'll add that. And this all looks good, but let's add this last little change here and then we're done. So let's find our lemon poppy seed recipe here in our code. This is our lemon poppy seed. So let's see, the padding at the bottom, I want 30 pixels. All right, that looks good. Let's save it, save the file and convert it. And then we can exit out of our Visual Studio. So I said exit out, but we're not gonna do that. We're gonna open our HTML file here and copy everything because we're now gonna test our email. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna create a test email on the putsmail email tester to see if it arrives correctly in our inbox. All right, now we're in our putsmail email tester. Let's use our email address in which we want to receive the test email. Let's enter a subject line. I'm just going to do Lavva rebuild. And in here, you paste all your HTML. You want to check this, so it moves all the possible styles inline. And then do the captcha. Oh my god. Ah, it's correct. Okay, and then send email. Now let's head to our Gmail and see if the email looks fine. So now we can see here, we have our preview text that we inserted, which is the can't find Lavva will come to you, and after that all the the contents of the email. If you want to only have this show up in your email preview, there's a little trick here. You can copy this here, this little text, and if you paste this in here a couple times, then it will only show this. I'm not gonna do that right now, but you can test it out for yourself and see if it works. If it doesn't work, just have a good look on this page and see what you did wrong. So let's open up our email and see how it looks. And there it is, our email in our inbox. Looks fine, the links are working. I'm happy. So don't forget, now you've sent your test email, you always want to inline your HTML before putting it in your email service provider or sending it out. So make sure you paste your HTML here and inline the CSS and copy the outputted HTML. So you might be wondering why I used HTML images for the recipes and for these flavors. And that's because when you use MJ images, it limits the width on mobile. And I found that if I use a normal HTML image, that I can set the width to 100% and it works perfectly. So just to quickly show you an example, I copied this section here from this recipe, and I, instead of a HTML image with the raw tags, I used a normal MJ image with no defined width, so it should be 100% of its parent. So, but if we go down to mobile, you will see that the image stays a little small, and I've tried to find fixes for that and all that stuff, but I found instead of like a fix, using just raw tags with an image inside works the best and the easiest. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, I would highly appreciate it if you could leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Remember that you learn the most by just doing it. You might fail a couple times while doing so, just like I did in the video, but from failing you get a lot of knowledge on how to not fail the next time you do it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.